Hello, I hope you're all doing well. I'm preparing to redo my worker empire and I want all the CP I can get for that. So how the heck do we get more CP? Well, I'm approaching this from two ends, cooking for CP for once, but what I found more interesting is to try and free up unused CP that I spent on housing. So this video is a recap of my Sunday afternoon where I used different methods and tools to free up a whopping 34 CP. Let's get started. I began with a bit of reconnaissance to find out exactly where my CP is allocated. A good starting point is simply hovering over your CP at the top of your screen. Here you can see I have most of my CP invested into nodes, 10 CP in rented items, which is the container, and the rest in houses, so workshops, storage, and lodging. And this is as much detail as the game will give you. Now if you want a detailed breakdown of where all your CP is allocated, you will have to manually go through each city. But there is a small trick. You see, when hovering over a city, it will tell you how many houses you have purchased in that city. So you can immediately discard all the cities you don't have any houses purchased just by hovering over the city. And another small thing, sometimes cities have outposts. So for example, in Velia you can buy additional housing in the nearby farms, so make sure to check those as well. Now when you find a city where you have CP invested into housing, you can go into the city view and then go to the top right and filter by all the houses that you have purchased. So I did that for all cities to get an overview of where exactly my CP was allocated. The cities where I had invested the most CP were Velia, where I do my enhancing, Heidel, where I do my alchemy, and Calpheon for cooking. And then there were a bunch of smaller cities that I used as storage for random items. For example, Kaplan is the place where all my unopened boxes go. Now looking at this, I was confident that I could optimize my storage a bit more to free up some CP, but I also knew that doing so would take quite a bit of work. And then I realized, wait a second, there's another way to free up CP that doesn't take any work at all. Some time ago, PA started putting out a monthly offer for loyalty storage. You can get one storage for 1k loyalty up to 5 times per month and it resets every month. I went ahead and got Serendia and Calpheon storage, 5 each, and was able to free up a total of 3 CP, just like that. So if you have a few loyalty points to spare, this is easy gains. So those were the low-hanging fruits, but to get more of my CP back I knew I had to do some actual work. The first thing I wanted to address was all the random items I had laying around in different storages. This was to free up CP, but I also wanted to take this opportunity to tidy up my storages a bit. For example, Velia is my enhancing storage, but I also had a bunch of farming seeds and boss drops that had no business being there. Now the question is of course, if I don't put those items in Velia, where do I put them? Well, we have 3 options. First, alt characters, they're basically free storage. And I want to show you 2 really cool features that got added to the game recently, making managing items so much easier. First, if you want to know where an item is, you can simply use the Find My Item function from the escape menu. Type in the item and it will locate it within any storage, inventory, or the Black Spirit safe. Oh, and on top of that, you can also browse through your alt's inventories through the character selection menu. And once you find an item, you can now directly pull it from the alt's inventory into your inventory by using storage mates. If at some point you run out of space on alts, you can also purchase wagons to put items in. If you remote collect these wagons, you can fit up to 20 in one storage. That's a lot of free storage. Just one thing to keep in mind, items that are on mounts can't be found by the Find My Item function. So if you use wagons, I suggest you write down which wagon holds which item, otherwise it's gonna end in chaos. Now the third option is simply any storage across the world where you have free space left. So I made some towns into dedicated storages. For example, Olivia for spare magical seeds and fairies, Glesh for combat buffs, and Kaplan for boxes. Now if we're talking storage, then you will want to have the Magnus unlocked because that lets you access items globally from any storage. So bottom line, there are lots of cheap options to store items and keep your main storages clean. And by cleaning up my storages, I was able to downsize my Velia storage by 5 CP, Idle by 9 CP, Calpheon by 3, Altinova by 2, and I finally got to tear down all the expensive storage in Kaplan for 12 CP. So pretty good gains overall. So far so good, but what about the tons and tons of CP I spent on my crafting storages in Heidel and Calpheon? Well, let's try to optimize the storage some more. Here's how this works. Most houses are set up in chains where to get a house you have to also get the previous one, and often the houses farther into the chain have better deals for storage. So at the beginning of the stage you might find 3 storage for 1 CP deals, and towards the end you get more towards 5 storage for 1 CP. But especially in the big cities, this turns into this really difficult problem of deciding which house chains are the most CP efficient. And lucky for us, this is a problem that the members of the LifeSkill community have solved. So I want to show you this, the housecraft tool on the worker man side. Here all you have to do is enter a city, how much lodging and storage you need, and then it will automatically find the most efficient housing for the numbers you entered. Pretty simple, right? Well, I can tell you, under the hood, it's everything but simple. Storage optimization is a fairly complex combinatorial problem, so shout out to Stella from the LifeSkill Discord for making it work. And there's a similar tool I want to show you, this sheet made by TJ. This shows the most CP efficient housing chains in a static layout. It's a bit simpler than the housecraft tool, but I will say it's quite nice to use, and it also shows how different cities compare in terms of CP efficiency. Now, to be honest, for my own project I did not get too much use out of these tools. That's because apparently Past Summer had done such a good job of picking CP efficient storage that even after redoing my complete Calpheon and half my Heidel storage based on the suggestion of these tools, I ended up exactly where I was before in terms of CP efficiency. But I will say, if you're building your storage from scratch or have poorly optimized storage, these tools are a lifesaver. So yeah, if you want the most CP efficient storage, I'd definitely recommend taking a look at these tools. In any case, I hope this video was helpful and I'll see you in a future video. Take care!